Alright, Hero Mastery has finally hit Overwatch 2, and we can at last take a deep dive into how Overwatch 2's devs think each hero should be played. Or at least a few of them anyway. So, does Hero Mastery actually help develop your skills? Or is it just a glorified puzzle that can't possibly explain some of the deeper nuances of playing such a varied and complex game as Overwatch 2? The tutorial and practice range have always been a bit, well, rubbish when it came to actually explaining how to play Overwatch 1 and 2. A glorified on-rails run-through with the most COD-like hero you can possibly get in Soldier 76, and some robots wandering around a mostly empty map does not a tutorial make, especially in a hero shooter with so many options, compositions and abilities to wrap your skull around. Enter then, hopefully, Hero Mastery, the final test to see if you have what it takes to compete in Overwatch 2 proper. Essentially, it's a place where players can hone their skills with individual heroes by completing training courses and challenges specially designed for those heroes. The courses familiarise you with the different abilities of Overwatch 2's heroes, all in a safe and controlled environment where you won't be accused of being a bot or throwing just because you didn't flank at the right time. So, at the risk of showing myself to be the scrub that I am, I have only actually consistently played any Overwatch 2 with just one of the characters that will become available in Hero Mastery over the next few weeks, that being Sojourn, which means Mercy, Reinhardt, Tracer and Winston are totally alien to me, which is very helpful because aside from Winston, they're the only ones that are available right now. I usually main Moira or Kiriko on support, Orisa on tank, and I like a bit of Reaper in DPS, so I'm going in as blind as it's possible for someone who's played Overwatch on and off since it came out can possibly manage. With that in mind, let's take a quick look at Reinhardt's Hero Mastery challenges and see if I actually think it was helpful in giving a new player to the game, or at least to the hero, an actually decent chance at learning them and surviving their first run at ranked. The first recruit level is fairly paint by numbers. There's not much challenge to it aside from learning how to manage your cooldowns to maximise your damage output and using your shield to keep the worst of the damage off you, and it's also shockingly easy to get the 3 stars you need to move on. You don't need to move that fast or even actually escort the robot, so I had some fun on this one getting used to how Ryan moves, how much damage his hammer and fire strike does, and how to control his charge so I don't go flying off the map. Good things to know. It's the second course where things get a bit more serious and a bit more difficult though, and you have to start thinking about how you're using your abilities and making sure your cooldowns stack in the optimal order to get the best score and the best time. Taking out these 2 bots right at the start with 1 fire strike was a crucial skill to learn, as was learning when Ryan's ult is most useful to gain maximum damage and advantage. It was honestly a pretty steep learning curve, and even though I solved it in the end, because there is an optimal way to complete these courses, which does take away from the often random and chaotic nature of actual Overwatch matches, there were always new ideas forming on how I could use his kit to get a better time, and if nothing else, it helped me get used to the ebb and flow of Ryan's abilities, get a better feel for the cooldown times, and naturally switch between charging, fire striking, hammer swinging, and shielding for maximum effect. Hero Mastery maybe doesn't prepare you for the chaos of matches, but it does help you feel out the hero, and gets you thinking about more nuanced ways you can use their kit to gain an advantage. The Veteran course is your final Hero Mastery test, and it looks like a confusing mess of a map with snipers everywhere and a ton of damage to escort your allied bots through. This one I found less useful for actually learning how to use Ryan. Instead, the focus was learning the map, the optimal route around it, and where you need to go on the attack or take up a defense. In short, it kind of refines your game sense, trying to get you to realise when you need to play aggressive to keep your allies safe, and when you just need to sit behind your shield and bunker down. At least that's what I think it was trying to do, or that's what I took from it anyway. It could be argued these Veteran courses aren't really designed for newbies to a hero, but if you want to take your newfound favourite into some ranked matches, then you should be able to at least take apart this training course. Ultimately then, does Hero Mastery actually help you get better at a hero? Well, yeah, quite well actually, but only insofar as it gets you comfortable with what kinds of situations your abilities are useful in. The puzzle-like nature of each level is incredibly good fun, and I can easily see how players will spend hours trying to solve each course and find the optimal route through each one. At its core, it's a completely different way to play the game, in that there is an undeniable best way to do it in order to max out your points and get 5 stars in every course, since bots will always trigger and behave in exactly the same way. And given that I only spent about an hour actually working my way through the 3 levels of Ryan's Hero Mastery courses, they are a much quicker way to acquaint yourself with a hero's kit and skill set without having to queue for games or get shouted at for not playing correctly or just randomly swinging about in the practice range. Being able to consistently practice positioning while defending an ally, or learn the exact crosshair placement and distance you need to pull off a 2-for-1 fire strike hit, or how to correctly feather a Ryan charge so you don't just stop short of pushing an enemy off the map and giving them a chance to escape. All of this is incredibly useful and is a great tool for players who have only ever seen Ryan in action wrap their heads around what he can actually do. And it'll be the same for Mercy and Tracer as well. Now, is it on par with consistently playing as Ryan in a competitive environment? No. Obviously not. And the fact that you can solve these hero mastery courses does encourage playing exactly the same way over and over again until you find the right way to do it, which might lead to some players picking up habits that won't necessarily serve them well in actual games. Overwatch is all about adapting how you approach each fight after all, and adaptive these courses aren't. But in the end, I guess the real aim of hero mastery isn't necessarily to teach newbies how to play. Not really. It's a high-score shooting single-player experience with high-score tables aplenty, and the competition element of hero mastery has already taken over a small part of the Overwatch community. One of our own at GGRecon, Chaotic, managed to break into the top 10 on Ryan's hero mastery on the first day, so expect more and more players to try out and get incredibly good at this mode, even without the endgame of actually learning how to use the hero in matches. It may not be the perfect learning tool, but hero mastery has injected some much-needed fun back into Overwatch 2 for me, and ultimately, practicing these courses with heroes you're new to certainly isn't going to make you worse. And if you're interested in seeing how the very best players in the world play Overwatch 2, check out this video, where we take a look at some of the best Overwatch League finals in history.